I guess in a general sense, I wanted to ask from you, what was the directive from Amy and Dan about going into season five? Um, did they tell you our town with an edge? I guess I wanted to know, like, leading up to the final season, what were the kind of things that she was like sprinkling around to tell you, like, this is what you guys are going to do this year?
I think she had always told us that there was an episode coming that was going to have a lot of music. And I think pretty early she said it was going to involve an industrial musical,
Right.
but that's it. So we had started to do research on industrial musicals and
Mhm.
had watched that amazing documentary, Bathtubs Over
Yes.
Broadway. And
Mhm.
once you go down that rabbit hole, there's so much online to listen to. That's
Yeah.
amazing. But we didn't know what it was going to be about. We didn't know the subject matter. And it wasn't until literally 3 or 4 weeks before it had to be done that
Yeah.
she sort of welcomed us into this conference room. And there was a set built, like a model of a set, and there were these sort of like drawings and stuff. And we're like, oh, oh, you already know what this is all about. You didn't tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay.
I think she thought it would be fun to sort of, I think she likes to throw us a little bit of like, last minute franticness and fun. And I think she wanted to keep it under wraps for us. The funny thing was, we'd heard from a couple other people that there was like, da, 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 oh, are you working on that trash thing? Or no, are you working on that garbage thing? And I was like, what?
But
We don't know anything about anything. So yeah, she
Um,
told us pretty much, I guess like what, 3 weeks before we recorded it. It was really, really fast.
what?
we had about we had about 3 to 4 weeks between literally sitting down in the conference room and her saying it's about trash and
Yeah.
kitchens and landscaping. Like we got the three directives, and we had to write, rewrite, approve, orchestrate, and record basically in 4 weeks,
Yeah.
all 5 or 6 songs.
Which was really intense. It was hilarious.
Uh,
And also had to incorporate things like private waste management into lyrics.
Or my favorite, she insisted on a butler's pantry. I
Right.
was like, I can't rhyme with butler's pantry. That doesn't sing. Oh dear.
Butler's Pantry. Oh my
Well,
God.
and
No, but
also a really interesting thing about it too was that when we came in, her first, she told us kind of basically what it was about, and that not only was it going to be an industrial, but it was basically three industrials we're writing for.
mhm.
You only see one, well, you see one number of one, you hear two numbers of the other one, and then you see the entire third industrial. And she really specifically wanted it to sound like it was written by three different composing teams. And that was kind of really fun because in that time, a lot of the people that were writing for Broadway or whatever, they would be making extra money or probably most of their money writing industrials. In fact, that still
Mhm.
happens today. People that we know and love and have big hits on Broadway also write, you know, I've been known to dabble in that myself.
So
You'll write
Etna, call us on the
exactly.
phone right now. There's a strike going on.
So yeah, so we had to come at it from that angle, which was really, really fun to kind of think about like, okay, as Tom put it, like we're like instead of being like method actors, we're being like method songwriters, to kind of put together these really fun musical moments that had to all be different from one another.
Yeah.
How, I mean, the fact that if it's supposed to sound like three songwriting teams, I don't even know how you do that because it's sort of like, you get into a groove of how you write and how you do things. I mean, in terms of like, how do you how do you make yourself sound like somebody else? Like, how do you do that?
I
Like, do you just
think
like throw paint at a blank sheet of music paper and see what like goes in a line? Like, that's a fun
a little
melody.
bit. I mean, we always try to approach it from us, but with kind of like you were saying, like the method actor way. Like you're taking from us. We're
Hmm.
always the writers, but try to like put ourselves in given circumstances. So like for the landscaping one, we knew visually it was going to be sort of this flowy dresses and the Marylands and stuff. And so,
Hmm.
okay, who would write that? Okay, that's probably an older person. It's a throwback to like the 50s. So we think that way. We don't think parody per se like that.
Ah.
Very,
Hmm.
very consistent. We try to think like, no, who's writing this? Just like when
Exactly.
we're writing Shy Baldwin stuff. It's like it's us, but it's us pretending to be brill building writers.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%. And like, for example, just to run with that, what Tom said, like for the kitchen stuff was the opposite. We thought like, okay, well, the kitchen, those guys are probably like like a little bit more modern. They're probably writing jingles as well as advertising stuff, so it's a little bit more upbeat, maybe a little bit more rock and roll. And so we worked with the amazing orchestrator who we worked with before, David Chase, for this,
Mhm.
and we said, okay, this has got to be, a smaller band. It's going to be a rhythm section stuff, so it's a little bit more pop of that era. And and then I think Tom, like for the actual Trash one, we're like, okay, these are the music theater zeitgeist of that moment. So the
These are
people
the
that
young guys looking, they're hungry and they're looking forward into the 60s. They're looking at, the sort of like pizzazz and, jazz hands and like
Mhm.
pushing things forward, a little more cynical, a little dirtier, I
yes,
have to say. and so once you put your head into those positions, then you write the songs like from that world, and it makes it. Hopefully, they do sound like the best compliment is if people don't realize we wrote all three. That would be
or that they're even not original. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times that's the only funny thing that happens to us sometimes is people are like, wait a minute, that song you guys wrote that, but that's not an original. It's like, no, we wrote that for
Yeah.
this. You
No,
know?
I think, I mean, I actually thought of that too. I think that's the first question I ever asked you the first time I spoke to you guys. It was just like, wait, these are these are not, original songs. I was shazamming it every single time a new song came on, even going into this season. So I feel like, again, you have pulled the wool over my eyes because I'm just like, is
yeah,
something because the music supervision of the show is so good and it's so
Oh, good.
pointed that you don't I don't know a lot of music of the 1960s of early 1960s. So I genuinely had no idea, or I was just DMing Tom demanding answers for a lot of things.
Well, and
Um,
it is interesting when you see that because it really is a testament to people like Stuart Lerman, who's the music producer, and the whole sound team. That really get that authentic sound from both the new recordings, so that they seamlessly go into the old recordings. And I
mhm,
think we mentioned before, even sometimes with those old recordings, we'll go in and add new sections just because we need additional transition material, or
mhm.
and you'll be like, wait, that's that famous song, but wait, I don't remember that instrumental break like that. That's because we just added it. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of magic that happens behind the scenes with Maisel that makes it seem hopefully seamless.
the
yeah,
good thing
yeah.
that this year was different though is that with the industrial stuff, particularly, it was like Amy giving us the keys to the car.
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
like we didn't want to crash it, but we got to be the center of the comedy for once. Usually we've
Yeah,
shot stuff and stuff. Those songs are important, but they don't have to match the comedy of the show.
right.
Whereas the industrial stuff, we were really working closely to make sure that we didn't let the spine of the show fall apart. Like it had to be
Mm,
funny. It had to feel like Maisel.
And,
yeah,
and it sort of brought us back to how we originally met Amy, getting back into the collaboration of writing these kind of musicals, which was really fun. And kind of honestly, that's where we come from. That's our background. So
mhm.
it was a really lovely thing. It's
Yeah.
much more involved in that this year.
I did kind of love how when I was thinking back, the songs that you've written before have had to sort of exist in a fake world that is a real world, but this is just kind of a musical theater extravaganza, fever dream, everything. And that's what I love about it. Like I like you say keys to the car. You mean the keys to the car that eventually is going to be shown at an industrial that you guys have to write the music for.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
there's but I'm glad that you brought up Bathtubs Over Broadway because I love that documentary.
So
And
good.
I think that's weird about it is like that world has existed sort of in plain sight and people have either just not looked in that direction or they've completely ignored it or they just are very ignorant to it. But I think back from watching that movie, I think with these musicals, there is like a huge amount of sincerity into writing the music. Is that something that's hard to infuse into something that is supposed to be funny?
I think that you have to just take it seriously, like the
Hmm.
writers at the time did. They were trying to write
Hmm.
the best thing possible, and it just so happens you're writing about kitchen appliances, and that's how we looked at it. We didn't, you know, music theater wants to also still be funny, so they're going to write jokes. If you listen to the songs that these great writers wrote for these shows, they are funny and sweet
Yeah.
and lovely, and they just happen to be singing about bathrooms. So
Right.
So
And you got to imagine that there's a little bit, Tom, of like, and even in that world, they can actually have fun with what they're doing. You know,
yeah,
you can have a tiny knob of like turning up the making fun of what I'm actually doing at this moment and still being authentic, which is kind of what we did too. I mean, granted, we're writing in a stylistic show too, so there's one more element of stylisticness that we're adding to it. But there is so much joy in what they're writing, and those really, I mean, as you saw in that documentary, you can just take such a deep dive and have a blast listening to all this stuff and listening to all the multiple things that they're going through and trying to sort of get across while also doing it with the humor. And it was very fun to do that.
the fun thing we got to add on top, like another layer, was just that with the Trash musical, we also got to play, like, there's the scene right before it starts where you see the writer who's worried about the mafia, like knows where his family is.
He knows where my mom lives. Yeah.
Yeah, we took that to heart, and sort of there are hopefully little sprinkled through what I call cries for help within the lyrics that just are like, I'm working for the mafia, someone help me. like
Right.
layered through the lyrics, because we thought that's the fun we get to have, is that there's a story element.
Oh my God. But there is something like there is something about watching the actors who are playing actors in that sequence. I find that immensely entertaining because they are taking it so seriously. And it's just that, I mean, I just wonder if, if I could sort of segue into the, your personal trash man can. I mean, I wonder if you just now have the ability and permission to just yell trash at people. I mean, it's just
Who has not wanted to just have a button that's trash? I mean, it's kind of what I've lived for my entire life. And I think
we've always thought of ourselves as garbage writers, and
yeah,
now
so here we go.
officially are.
We officially are garbage writers. It's the perfect. And I have to say,
I walked right into that. God.
it just reminds me too of, Amy treated us with such respect and gave us the resources we needed. I mean, obviously, going on set, this MGM set, which we have to talk about in a minute, but like my favorite thing was that for the table reading, she asked us to prepare the whole thing. Like normally a table read is beautiful and it's amazing. And you come in, you sit and you watch them all. We're all around this big table, but for the table read of this, we actually brought the entire cast in. We had a pianist, we had the music director. We performed the entire musical for the cast that had never heard it before. It was unbelievable. They were laughing their asses off. It was just so funny to be able to, in the middle of the Steiner studio, just yell trash. It was really a special day.
I think one of the greatest moments of my career was walking out of that reading, and Jane Lynch was walking by, and she was singing Personal Trash Man to herself. She was walking out, she's like, Personal Trash Man king. I was like, yes.
Life
well,
is
I will say, like, yesterday, I mean, can't believe I'm telling you this, but it's just sort of like last night was garbage night, and I was rewatching the scenes again last night, and I had my headphones in, and when I was walking down the stairs, walking through the garage, and putting it into the garbage can, I was like, I'm singing about trash as I'm taking trash out. Like, what am I doing?
That's
That should be a TikTok challenge. Take your trash out while singing.
I know, right? That would be a really funny TikTok challenge. I'm in. I'll do it.
And I have to say, the four guys that are in that song, the way that they can take it to, first of all, I like the musical interlude that starts the song as the boy says the prayer. I love that. And then the sort of like creepy, absurdist thing that they bring to it that I feel like also enhances the situation that we're watching and enhancing the music. Those four guys are amazing. And I was wondering, what can you tell me a little bit about like the rehearsal process of that and seeing it on the stage?
Yeah, sure. We auditioned them, and they came from the dance side first because we knew they'd have to be, amazing dancers, and they're also such great singers too. And they really embodied the energy of that piece. They're all so different. They all have such different backgrounds. Some of them are singers who like also dance really well. Some of them are dancers who sing really well. But all four of them were so game, and it was a lot of work because as these things go, we have to pre-record everything because it has to be lip synced. And to create that sequence was really complicated because not only do you have all this ensemble singing, and they're dancing on top of it, but they're also all these individual singing spots. So all that had to be spotted. And then when the dance actually takes place, those trash can lids that they put on their feet, we had to cut and re-edit, because when they're actually tap dancing, a little bit of magic spoilage here, those tap dance cans are built into their shoes. So if you see them put them on, then we cut. They get the special shoes that actually the tap shoes are slotted on. They do the rest of the dance sequence like that, and then at the very end, when they kick them off again, they go back to the regular shoes with the other lids. So it was amazing to watch all this come through, and it just, Marguerite Derek's the choreographer, and working with Amy to get that to be just so seamless it was an MGM moment. I mean, it was just so fun to be in that, and it took all week. We worked on that song pretty much every day for a week to get it
to film. Yeah, and I think the other thing that was really important, and I just love those guys so much, is that we fought hard at the beginning. There was discussion of using like session singers that they would lip sync to, and we kept saying, no, they're going to be so much more invested if they're lip syncing to their own voices, and it is their voices, and it just makes all the difference. It gives them so much character, and you can feel it because they're hoofers, they're Broadway hoofers, and they get that feeling that you saw, which is that like completely invested seriousness in this musical.
Yeah,
and that's what we want. All those people are, those actors that's their job.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, there was just so much joy in them doing it. Like, there's a point, I think, we've all done jobs that we're like, oh God, what are we doing? What do we do? How do we get into this? But then then there's a point where it's so ridiculous, especially when you're on Maisel, these guys just came, everybody across the board was so into it. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I just think that those guys, every time I watch it, because I will admit I have seen it a number of times, is just that I can tell that they are hoping that there's like an agent in the crowd or something like that. It's like so go for broke, and it's so, just thinking about it just makes me laugh.
I know that maybe we'll hire to do the kitchen.
The thing is, the best, sorry, the best way to describe the week though of working with all the dancers and the crew, like, because it was a full working theater built into this convention center set, and so there's fly space and lights and a whole different lighting thing for theater lighting and stuff. And at the end of the week, it was late, we'd been working all week, and they'd gotten everything, and most of the cast was out of costume, but they had to film the reaction shots of the background people last.
Oh, okay.
And instead of faking that, the cast stayed, including Rachel, and they did the show for the first and only time once as a full show. They just ran it. We ran Private Waste Management and it was so magical. It was so lovely. So it got to the point that the whole crew started cheering. And Amy, there's video, and Amy's like clapping and cheering, and of course they can't use any of that audio because we're all shouting obscenities and like but
wasn't it great, Tom, when they gave the little boy his curtain call?
Yeah, we hadn't done a curtain call. We hadn't planned for that.
Yeah,
and Rachel grabbed the little boy who does all the cartwheels through the whole thing.
God, he did so many.
She grabbed him and put him center stage and said, "Bow, bow," and everyone's cheering for him. And it was that kind of experience that I think comes through when you watch it. Everyone's just giving it their all, and from like costume to the actors to all of us behind the scenes, it was just pure joy.
I mean,
I feel like on Rachel's face, it does look like she's watching it for the first time, and I know she's not.
Oh no, she does such a good job.
The way she's just like, oh my God, what is going on? And she's looking at the paper and looking around. She's like, oh, this is happening. Oh, that is happening. It all feels so.
She wanted so bad to sing and dance.
She did. She kept telling. She's like, "What do I?" Yeah, my God, she was like, "I want to dance. I want to dance." So she would learn all she was learning the choreography between. Really sweet. I have to say, also, there's so much magic in that sequence because, we do it again at the end of the episode, and when it all falls apart, when she's bad, and they cut to some scenes that Joel is doing with Susie and all that stuff, and with the mafia guys. It's actually longer than the actual musical is. So we had to write a
Oh.
whole bunch of additional material for the second time, because the whole sequence lasts. It's not realistically the same length. You know what I mean? Just to get
Yeah.
this, you know, and obviously all that changes in the edit. So we had to sort of go back, and it's all continuous. We basically just had to make this malleable material. And if you listen, it's funny because Midge is still talking in the background, and I'm like, what's all this? Like it's all extra because it wasn't in the first musical. It was a lot of fun. And actually, another fun thing, Tom, do you remember again, we have to, it's so much preparation to get those sequences right. And, you know, Emily Bergel pre-recorded all of her song. Everything was all great when she came out to do it. But we got on set and Amy decided she wanted a new lyric for one of the lines that Emily Bergel sang. And so, first of all, Tom had to write it like literally on the spot. And I remember you were like, okay, here are 8 options. Amy, which one do you like? She's like, that one. And so we had to tell, we're 800 people and we were up at the Bronx Armory and in the Bronx, and we had to tell there's this announcement made, okay, everybody has to be quiet for the next minute and a half, and everyone just stopped their work while we recorded live in the room on someone's like laptop this additional cue, and we were sort of like, well, we'll loop that later, and I don't think we ever did. I think that's actually what's in the episode is what we recorded on set.
She did the lip sync to the line we just recorded as everyone was quiet on set.
Yeah.
And that's what you hear in the episode. We won't tell you which line because you don't need, you know, we don't want to spoil the magic, but yeah.
I do love how that her song is kind of like it's a little bit of Urinetown meets a little bit of Toxic Avenger meets a little bit of like just like a Torch song, like a little bit of like oh god, something that Sondheim would write. I don't know. There's some when I watched it again this morning, I was like, is this like the trash losing my mind? Like what am I
Basically.
doing?
And actually the song, as always is the case with all these things, the song is actually long. The original song we wrote is longer. Still very short. I think the original song is 1 minute and 20 seconds, and what you see on screen might be 40 seconds, I think. So I wish
there is a recording of Emily doing the full song that exists.
And it is so funny. It's so funny. She gets to the end of the song and the song ends, because the original version we have an ending. It's in the what we see on screen. It's cut off, but she sings this last note and the orchestra finishes, but she just holds the note after the orchestra finishes, and she's like, "Wait, is that the end?" It's very funny. If you just improv that in the session.
Hopefully we will figure out a way, because it's not on the soundtrack album.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can figure out a way to release that secretly to the world, because
it's such a great.
And the bridge is really dirty.
Yeah.
Really dirty.
Oh my god, I need that. Holy shit. Oh my god.
It's drag queens around the world need that full version.
That's enough to I will single-handedly help with the campaign to get that released. That's why I can see like that drag queen do that. And I actually think that, I mean, Rachel and Emily are both on Broadway right now. They can just walk out into the street and just
sing it.
Just, you know, maybe they could just single-handedly at stage door signings just start singing some music from the Waste Management musical. I did want to pivot slightly to ask something about the Gordon Ford show. I love that world in this season. I love the writers' room, all the backstage stuff. I love it. I wanted to know, for like the Gordon Ford show theme, how do you sort of like cater a personality of somebody who's hosting the show and try to put it in there? Do you try to do it something like that is, you know, just something similar to the time period? I'm just curious about that, just because I enjoyed that music a lot.
Oh, I mean, we did spend that actually, again, there were a lot of versions that we went through for that. And that was a really tough one because you know, we started just listening to a lot of themes to the Tonight Show and to, you know, all those shows from back in that time, and going through them and thinking, you know, we always get them in our heads, so we're thinking of it. But then we were just sort of talking, and I was trying to break it, and we couldn't quite figure out what we were going to do. And Tom sort of suggested, he was like, well, what if we do like, you know, one of those kind of fun jazz waltzes? And I was like, oh, right, like a Dave Brubeck kind of really fast, just because it would be so Maisel to have that kind of really high energy. And that's kind of where that came from. And it just led us down a road to kind of really make this real fun, you know, big band jazz tune. And again, we recorded at least 5 versions of that, because, you know, you never know how many times, well, and you know, we know we had to go back and forth to using that cue a lot in this season, because we're going to hear it backstage, we're going to hear them running, we're going to hear the full thing. And just as a little Easter egg, the leader of the band who plays piano and introduces everyone, that is the orchestrator, David Chase, and he's amazing. Yes, so he gets a little time on screen, and he's incredible. Although for those songs that we wrote, I did the orchestrations just because sometimes it just goes so fast. It's just like, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, so that's kind of how that came about, right, Tom? I mean,
yeah, but there were so many cues that I think people won't even realize that the Gordon Ford band plays between each. There's new songs between each commercial break. There's introducing guest music, and that was all had to be written for the show.
Yeah, we did, and we used I mean, there are at least 30 cues that we wrote for the Gordon Ford band, and you'd have to, and Amy would make us edit them right on the spot. Like, we'd be on there, she'd be like, it needs to be a little shorter. And as you know, obviously we pre-record those again because we have to. When you see them play live, they're not physically making any noise in their instruments if there's dialogue going on, because we can't, you know. And so, but they have to match what we're doing. So anytime I'd make an edit, I'd have to go out there and edit all of their parts really quickly, so that we know what, you know, so that they're looking like they're playing the same music that we've just edited back at the sound booth. And you know, that was a really fun, crazy.
Basically, what we're saying is that every time we're on set, we're scurrying in like little mice, fixing things, and then we run off set. Like they probably like, who are those guys? Wait, what?
I'm sure if you really look closely, I'm in some shot somewhere accidentally. No, but it's and another thing we did too is we, you know, I think we talked about this before with you, but like we do write often we write more than the song that you heard. We write other versions or other totally different songs. So we have a huge catalog of songs that never made it on the show, just because it's easier to write multiple songs and talk about them than it is to write one song and try to get it right. So we actually used, in a few places, we got to use little instrumental versions of like an alternate Shy Baldwin song or something, you know, in one of the cues for Gordon Ford. So, you know, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, one of my favorite alternates. It was the alternate for the Miami After Dark.
Yeah.
When we did Make Mine a Double, there was an alternate called Call Me Old Fashioned, another drink song. And
when we submitted them, we submitted 3 songs to Amy for that, and she's like, "Have you guys been drinking?" What, you know, because every song was
they all were jokes about cocktails. But one of those got to make it into as a Gordon Ford song, so it was nice to bring that back.
Yeah,
I still think Amazon needs to do like a huge for every sort of element of the show, like, you know, costumes and production design and everything. I just want like a book that is like literally this big of everything that goes on. And I think you guys need to release like a, you know, 12-hour uncut music thing.
We have it. I have at least 12 hours of music.
Yeah. Just come say shuffle on our iTunes and you'll
the 17 CD collector's set. Oh my God, does anybody even know what a CD is anymore? Yeah, we could.
I almost just said 4-disc and I realized I was like, oh, that's gonna sound it's so old.
On mini disc for the first time.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I guess one silly question to leave you guys with, because it's already 1:30. Holy crap. I guess, you know, doing an industrial thing, what do you think would be like if you had to take a stab at another kind of product? Like, what would you do? Would you go something insanely absurd? Like when I was doing another, you know, deep dive into industrial musicals, which is really hard to get out of, trying to like, you know, get out of realizing, you know, John Kander did them and all these people did all these things. It's kind of insane. Is there a product that you feel compelled to write about?
Oh my God.
I feel like we're really being called to do the Viagra campaign.
No, you have to do something like
I think
make it gay or like PrEP or
but it's definitely, I mean, Viagra would be funny, but the really fun thing is to do the pharmaceuticals from the industrial side, so not the advertising public side. We're actually talking to the salesmen, the developers, the people at the Pfizer, you know, convention.
Raise your numbers.
Exactly.
Oh,
which is a Viagra joke waiting to happen. But raise your numbers. I can't stop. It's just
I don't think there's a better way to leave that. Like, that is going to be on the other you know, 4-disc collection, another just slip it in there, just like, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I was sort of, when I watched the screener of the episode, like, I sort of knew something was coming, but sort of watching it is like I was not prepared to watch. I watched this episode very late at night. I was I don't know. I mean, I'm a musical theater kid, so it was sort of nostalgic and hilarious and fresh and new all at the same time. And it was sort of like what's it called? Like a pinball machine. She just kept hitting all these like joy spots on me a lot. So I'm so glad you guys get to really go out with a huge bang on this show, and I just love it. I'm sorry, I'm just
Thank you.
it's just so effing good. So thank you guys so much for your time, and good luck to you this season. We're really rooting for you. A lot of people on the site who know, since I'm the Maisel person, and I won't let them touch anything with Maisel because it's all mine. That they will message me week to week, like, this episode's great, this episode's great, and 2 of the other writers messaged me, and we talked for like 10 minutes about the music. So yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been really a dream. It's been a dream come true.
And I think that it's Amy and Dan are going out on their own terms, swinging for the fences, and it's just lovely to see like how fresh and energetic and funny and moving what they're doing this season is, and just to be a part of that, just everybody, including us, just wanted to go out with a bang, like you said, like let's put it all out there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, well, thank you guys for your time. Again, thank you for letting me gush at you, and I'm sure I will talk to you again soon. So
I hope so. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Edit us down, please, God.
No, whole thing uncut. Just
all
all right. Bye, guys.
Bye.